If you want to be free, there's a big thing that comes with it. Freedom is not free. Freedom requires virtue. It requires work. It requires effort. And do you know why I don't really give a shit? Because I like work. And no one can take it away from me. Because I don't actually need anyone to give me a job anymore. Ever. I just love work. So I've got this ironic situation where people think they can fuck me over by fucking up my reputation. I hire people. And people come to me, including people from Oxford and Cambridge and whatever else. And we file patents. And yes, I like IP. So what? If you want, here's the thing. Outcompete me. Isn't that what we're talking about? File before me. Invent something better. Take my things, build more. Take what I've done, build it. Create something more. Not because you want to have a God. I used to be a pastor. I've got my fucking God. I don't want to be one. I don't particularly want you to make me one. In fact, I hate when people do that. It's an annoying fucking... One of the worst things that ever happened was this fucking Church of Satoshi. And some people even took it seriously, for frick's sake. So you're going to start finding out everything, but my way. Not because Wired told you this is how things have to happen. Not because Mr. Maxwell told you this is how things have to happen, but because I, who didn't want to talk about my past, will do it the way I want to, in court. The way people have real rules of evidence. Things that have been built up. You know, one of the biggest freedoms we've had, and I've said this many times before, not creating miscellaneous sort of shitcoin type companies, because if you look it up, there was a company called MyGo. I'll say company very loosely. MyGo in 1999, 1990, around that period. They were a decentralized bunch of web developers. This is nothing new. They did web script. They issued things over the internet, over Usenet. And the SEC took them down. Badly. The SEC said, you're not a company. And they said, yes, we're not a company. Ha ha, you can't get us. SEC said, fine, you're a common law partnership. Unlimited liability. They went after one, then the other, and then the other, until they took all their money and the lawyers got the rest. The end. No more MyGo. That simple. So you have this great freedom. It was fought for. People died for the right of a company. Not just a company where you are liable, but limited liability. People gave their lives, I'm not joking, died, rioted, fought for the privilege of being able to set something up where you don't go to debtor's prison, or you don't get put in stocks, or you don't get hung, because some places on earth still do that, by the way. There are places above Sahara, and I won't go into particular details, where you can be imprisoned for debt. Now, that's not free. If you fuck up with a company, you go bankrupt, or your company goes bankrupt. If you're honest, your company goes bankrupt and you keep going. Guess what? That's good. If you fuck up on a token raising, you're a partnership. You go broke. Or you've defrauded people, in which case it's even worse, and you go to jail. So I want to ask people, what do you want? Do you want a system where people tell you what to do? Do you want to build a protocol that is stable and not have to keep being told, where you can build software, applications, develop without having to worship the greatest developers in the world. And trust me, they're not. I've worked in places like the Australian Stock Exchange, and I worked with high-frequency traders, the ones who don't release all their code and whatever else, and they were good coders. Left me for freaking dead. What we have out there in Twitter sphere are people saying how great they are. And yet, terrible loser me is about to come out with 8,000 transactions a second. I know, it's because I'm a shit coder. Obviously, I didn't understand the fact that it's got to run on Raspberry Pis. But that's the point you have to think about. If you start playing with protocol, if you allow people to dictate your life, if you allow them to do that, you give away your freedom. You are permissionless only when you have no one dictating, no one who acts as the lord of the repository. It's fucking Bitcoin. The whole purpose is to have things not controlled. Part of why I fucking disappeared was to have things not controlled. And I have to come back to control things to get it fucking not controlled. That's the freaking irony of this shit. Fucking think, people. Honestly. I mean, really. I put SPV in the white paper and everyone goes, oh, we need really, really complex ZK snarks. No, you don't. Think about this. I want 2 people from the audience. Please, someone in the front. There's one. There's one. Okay. So here's something. Imagine that this is my transaction. I've got it because I mined it, right? I hand that and the previous transaction. So I sign a transaction, my new one, and I've handed the one that came to me. Okay? So that's my previous one. Yep. Now you can save that and hand that one on and sign a new one with what you do with that one. That's really hard, isn't it? That's fucking SPV. I can now, without downloading the whole fucking blockchain, go, hash of this transaction that he handed me is in the UTXO set. Easy to check, right? Merkle header. Now, if I want to be really sneaky, I could actually give you the path in the Merkle tree. You can do that because Merkle trees are set, not like this fucking canonical ordering crap. I can give you the path, so you now know where to check.
So I can download the block and then check?
No, you don't even need to download the block. You download the part of the block in the Merkle tree and check the hashes.
Okay, that would work out.
So you don't even need to download that transaction because you can hash that transaction and check the hash, right?
Yeah, but how do I know that the person I get the block from has a valid block?
You don't get the block from me, you get a transaction.
Okay.
So if you read how SPV works, you just have the headers.
Yeah.
You've got the headers. You have the hash of this transaction.
Yeah.
So when I hand you that transaction,
Yeah.
you hash it, you check the hash. If they're different, what does that mean? Anyone? Invalid. Was that really, really hard?
No, but what I would do is I would connect my SPV wallet to my own node, so I know that at least it got the block.
So basically, what you're going to do is, I don't trust anything.
Yeah.
I don't trust. Maybe there's really a conspiracy and SHA doesn't work.
Then a lot of people have a problem.
Exactly. And a lot of people have a problem on the other bit too. It's simple. We're going to put this out so people can start building it. And I'm still amazed after 8 bloody years, no one figured out something so simple. They keep going for the complex things. Thank you.
So it's running late, but we'll take a few questions. Let's let our guests sit down. We'll take a few questions. I know it's running late, and Craig will hang out and ask some more questions. We ask the questions be, focused on Bitcoin and technology, if you can. Please, yes.
So, are you guys sure that being regulation friendly is the part of original Satoshi vision, whatever it could be?
The question is, are we sure the path of regulation friendly is the vision of Satoshi?
Yes, I am sure that I was like that then. And what you will find is it's based on contract law. Everything in Bitcoin follows regulations. It follows monetary law. If you go back to a case, it's called the case of mixed money, 1605. It's actually one of the first cases of token money. It's an early case. If you read it, it's quite interesting. It is after the Irish and the UK fought. There was a really smart Irishman who got the better of an English lord. They had a contract, and the contract said to be paid in money minted in England. And the English, to undercut the money in Ireland, had minted these sovereigns that instead of being silver, were tin. And basically, this sort of person paid back the lord using, instead of silver coins, he paid them back in the Irish coins. And what happened was they went to court and the contract said money minted in England. But they minted these tin coins in England. So even though they were Irish coins, they were minted in England. So by the letter of the law, this Irish farmer fucked over an English lord completely and made a big amount of money. And because they didn't want to ruin the whole economy that they'd already fucked up, he got away with it. And that's basically how money has evolved, through law.
That was a nice answer, Craig. You know how I'd answer it is, even if you don't believe Satoshi wanted a regulation-friendly environment, do you believe Satoshi wanted a Bitcoin financial system that would last for centuries, not just decades, but centuries into the future? And if you believe that, then it has to be regulation-friendly. Otherwise, you would have ended up shut down like Silk Road, because that's what would happen. Okay, question here, yes.
Could you give us a timeline for the next 2 years? What do you expect of BSV?
The question for a streaming audience is, can you give us a timeline of the next 2 years, what you can expect for Bitcoin SV?
8,000 transactions a second, going up towards in the order of millions of transactions a second. New technologies that we've been developing in the background without anyone knowing. We don't allow our patents to be public until the last minute. We have a few years of hiding them. Little trick our lawyers taught us, which is actually quite good. And that enables us to basically skirt around the gorillas instead of kicking them in the nuts. Because there are big companies out there who are now throwing lots of money into this, and we needed that time. So,
Technical roadmap is published on the bitcoinsv.io site. Steve Shatters did a recent post about this. Protocol upgrade in July, lifting default block cap to 2 gigabytes, some other changes in there, a return to essentially the Genesis, what we're calling it, in February, which is the completing the restoration process of the Bitcoin protocol and eventually lifting the default block cap. The Terra Node project, which is developing a microservices enterprise level approach to it, we think will be in some form, prototyped by next year. Scaling test network is already live and open for business. If you're a developer and a business wanting to test your applications with high throughput, heavy load on the Bitcoin SV scaling test network, open, ready for business. Check it out at bitcoinscaling.io. All right. Yes, question there.